When I first moved to our rural property, I made a mistake. I had the idea that because the land had been used for farming, that the soil was going to be good. But this was a wrong assumption. Hi, I'm Kevin LJ, a New Zealander living in northern Thailand who loves to garden. Welcome back to the Suansuk Homestay video channel. Many years ago, I'd started a garden in a property that we'd bought in New Zealand and quickly discovered that the soil was absolute rubbish. It was really just cluggy clay that was virtually impossible to grow anything in. So I bought a truckload of what I thought was soil and realised pretty quickly that it wasn't. It was actually just dirt. There was no life in it. And this was the same experience that I had coming here. I didn't have to buy the dirt, but once we got into the garden, once I started digging an area, this area here that I wanted for my vegetable garden, I realised that the soil was really lifeless. There was no organic matter in it. There was no sign of any worms anywhere, and it was just dead. So I knew that I had a lot of work to do to build it up. But now I've got this lovely, rich, life-giving soil that my vegetables grow really, really well in. And so it's just been, it's just been a journey to work on the soil and to get it right. Initially, the first couple of years, we didn't plant vegetables in this patch. We put some rice in it originally because we thought it'd be really nice to grow a field of rice on our property. And then we moved from that and planted a cover crop. It's called sun hemp. It's this beautiful yellow flower. It's nothing like regular hemp, but it's a really great nitrogen fixer. So we put in a couple of crops of that and just let the land sit for a while. And I was busy. I was doing other things. I didn't have time to produce a big vegetable garden or work on a big vegetable garden. So I was concentrating on building up other aspects of the garden while I let the land just begin to regenerate. Then we've also put on a lot of manure, cow and buffalo manure. We've had pig manure at times, we've had chicken manure at times. And one time when I was getting a delivery of the chicken manure, I was chatting with the Thai farmer, an older gentleman. So I had this idea about why there was no worms, and I ran it by him. I said, you know, before there was rice fields here and more recently there was lamyai, and I think it's probably because those crops have so much chemicals, pesticides and herbicides and fertilizers used on them that there's just no worms left. And he said, oh yeah, sure, that's why, that's what it is. And because there was no life in the soil, there was no organic matter, there was no other insects or bugs in the soil, and that has since changed. So it's been really an interesting journey, but it's taken time, and we've added other things. I use a lactobacteria acid, and we use an EM, what I call my red juice plant food. And I've also really gotten into making biochar. I've got another video about making biochar, but this is something that I've learned that is just so beneficial to the soil. And I also want to keep working on the idea and learning about the mycelium, the fungal growth that can be introduced into the soil. So this is a Korean natural farming method that I've started to experiment with and learn about, and I'm keen to really implement that in our garden as well. And then the other main thing that has really helped with the soil regeneration in this area, and now I'm using it in other areas of the garden, is that when we get the rice straw from our neighbour and use that as a mulch, and also other mulch that we get from fallen leaves and lawn clippings and anything else, and we're also making our own compost, and all of this is going back into the soil because it's putting life into the soil. And the more I learn about this process, the more natural I realise that it is, and it just gives us the best results for our vegetables. And so if you've got some land, if you've bought some land, and wherever you are, if you're bringing in dirt from outside, you've got to realise that it might just be dirt, it might not be soil, it might not have any of that life-giving quality that your vegetables are going to need. So work at building it up, even leave it for a few years if you can, and just let it build up more slowly, or just pile everything into it, as much compost as possible and as much of the bacteria and fungus as possible that is good for the soil. So even though our soil here had been so depleted, and I'm sure it had a lot to do with the chemical use that farmers had used on this land previously, and therefore it was just lifeless. But it has come back to life and is now really full of life. So by focusing our attention on revitalising and regenerating the soil, we've brought life into the garden, which is now beginning to provide some good crops of vegetables for us. Let us know in the comments below if you've got some tips for how you've regenerated your soil in your garden. And if you've got any further questions about what we're doing here, please don't hesitate to ask. Thanks for watching.